Once you're that big, there don't come back.
You want burgers, hot dogs, some chicken, and ribs. Yeah! Yeah! Yeah!
So do people still, do they still sell those squatty potties? Is that still a thing?
I don't know.
Yeah, because that was a big thing for a while. People were I remember, why do I remember the squatty potty being like a sensation? Like everybody was getting a squatty potty. Like everybody's so excited to be able to shit right or something. When in reality, it's just because we eat terrible as Americans.
You know, you can buy them at Amazon.
Can you still buy the squatty potty?
Not Amazon, Target. That's what I was trying to say.
I mean, their marketing team was a genius with the whole unicorn poop thing, you know?
I don't know.
You'll find out why I began the show talking about poop here in just a little bit.
Oh my God, there's so much shit. By the way,
yeah.
They have a SpongeBob one.
Oh, they have a SpongeBob squatty potty.
And it's only $15.
That's what I want to think about when I'm taking a shit, SpongeBob. We're going to be a little fancy today, I think. We're going to get in some fancy discussions.
Okay,
about art. About art. Art is garbage. Anyway, welcome to Night at the Horrorphile, a horror movie and genre film podcast where we take a horror movie and genre film and show it to my beautiful wife, Brittany, who then gives us her input. Sometimes she enjoys these things. Sometimes she absolutely fucking hates them. I don't know where you fall yet because there was the average amount of groans and moans when you were watching this movie that you do on some of these. But I've been pleasantly surprised before. Going into it. So maybe that's where we'll end up today. I sincerely doubt it. But what did we watch this week? Kuso from 2017. Now,
I did not know what it was called for the longest time.
And it's a listener request month. You know, we're having a great month so far. What have we done so far? We've done Slugs. We've done, oh shit, my memory is not working all of a sudden. We've done Slugs. We've done Vampire in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And we've also done Street Trash. It's been a fun month so far.
Yeah.
I don't know if that fun is coming to an end today. A lot of people, okay, so before I go into my whole spiel usually, a lot of people have called today's movie the grossest movie of all time. I don't know if I agree. And maybe that's because I've seen so much more.
Is there more?
There's worse movies than this. I really seriously say there have been worse movies than this. I don't know. There is at least one part that still gets me. You know, that still just get I'm just like, damn. Ooh, you know, there is one part. But anyway, so yes, it's listener request month. And before we get to today's request from Biddle Brian on Twitter, Brian, or as most of us know him as Daddy Man, a really cool guy. He cooks shit on the, he used to, I don't know if he still does the cooking segments that he used to do during the last drive-in stuff. It's pretty cool. A cool guy. But before we get to that, I'd like to talk about surrealism.
Okay.
What is surrealism? Before you approach today's movie?
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you were asking me, and I was going to tell you no.
Before you approach today's movie, had you ever encountered any kind of surrealist art? Because we've never covered a movie like this on this podcast. This is the first one of these types of movies.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I know
it doesn't make sense to me.
You know, a lot of people, like when you talk to them about surrealist movies in particular, usually you'll get something like the Pink Floyd's The Wall. That's the most famous one that comes to mind, you know, which to me is just more of a elongated music video, if anything. You know, of course, the video content in The Wall is kind of surrealist, but also at the same time, it's just, I mean, the music's there. It explains everything. You know.
Right.
Today's is a little bit harder to stomach. Surrealism is different for everyone. But to put it in layman's terms, it's the collection of illogical dream elements to provoke the unconscious mind. It makes you think, you know? I'm already getting a lot of eye rolls over there.
thought some things, but not what they wanted me to. Okay.
Well, that's the thing. Half the time, they're not aiming to make you think about anything in particular. Some
That
surrealist
sounds really stupid.
right. Well, hang on. Some surrealist art is not really trying to put something on a focal point of one specific element. It's like having a nightmare. It puts that nightmare to you to view at. And so when you do that, it can mean anything to anybody. Like one thing might mean something to you. One thing might mean something to the artist. One thing might mean something to everybody else.
Yeah.
But it's that quality to where it provokes you into just thinking. You know, that's where it takes you. Now, there are I'm so sorry. But yeah, not everybody's going to have the two people are not going to have the same reading on a surrealist form of art unless, you know, they read about it and then they all get a gathered opinion, which is kind of what some of the most famous surrealist paintings have done. You know, everybody's kind of has one group opinion now. But there are 3 key points that every artist usually abides by. And that's, you know, dreamlike elements, visuals or auditory, use of symbolism, and collage images. Which
there's a lot of those in this.
There is, and there's a lot of stuff like that. You look at stuff from like Aphex Twin, who actually contributed original music to this movie. Stuff from him. Surrealist art isn't just, you know, paintings. It isn't just movies. It goes everywhere. You know, you have surrealist forms of rap. Outsider stuff, and you know, a lot of stuff like that. Not everyone follows those 3 key points.
Yeah.
And because the point is to step away from the rules, and it's a creative act of revolt. You know, you're not doing this to abide by anyone's rules, really.
Obviously.
So you don't necessarily even have to follow those 3 rules. It's just typically these things do. Everybody nice and confused yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a way to liberate your imagination. That's there. I'm going to throw another thing for you to think about. But to me, that's why kind of art class is dumb. I've always thought the concept of an art class is fucking stupid. You can't teach someone how to be an artist. You can teach them how to draw and make a clay pot.
Right.
But you can't teach them how to be an artist. Artistry is like a personal stamp. It's individualized.
Right.
It's not, you know, you see these people who make cover songs just constantly. It's like, that's great, man. But I mean, I'm not getting anything from you. For an example of a surrealist art, you've seen Salvador Dali's The Persistence of Memory, correct?
Sure.
You all know this one. I'm sure you do, with the melting clocks in the desert and they're on a table and it's melting away and stuff like that. To Dali, he was stepping away from reality, and there are lots of meanings you can take away from that painting. I mean, Dali himself would put himself in a state of surrealism, like a surrealist thought, like hypnosis and stuff, just to tear himself away from reality so he could draw his nightmares and dreams and stuff like that.
So drugs?
Perhaps. Drugs can help you get there. You know, some of the most amazing music and amazing art has been by people who have taken hallucinogens, you know, and it's opened their mind to a different world, to a surrealist form of the world, to a nightmare vision, to dreams. It doesn't have to be scary all the time.
Right.
But yeah, there's lots of meanings you could take away from Dali's paintings. Like in that one in particular, you could say that like what the group thought is it's like time slipping away from us all, melting away. Salvador Dali got the idea from looking at his watch and then seeing a piece of cheese melt. So
okay.
The simplest things can cause this. Today's feature, to me, is one of the better forms of surrealist works when it comes to film. And now, the issue with a movie being labeled surrealist horror or surrealist horror comedy, as today's movie is labeled, is a lot of people just slap the title surrealism on something when it's weird and doesn't make sense. And weird and doesn't make sense doesn't necessarily make something surreal.
Okay.
You know, like you get a lot of filmmakers who make a bad movie that doesn't make sense. And so to get past people yelling at them about how terrible it is, they'll just call it surrealist art and move on.
Okay.
That's bad. To me, the best kind of forms of this kind of art is when the artists themselves are like, yeah, I approach it again and I think of something else. Like I watch my stuff. And that's with today's feature. That's the case with Philo, who did this. Now, Kuso, today's feature, which is the word Kuso is Eastern Japanese for shit, was given to us by musician Flying Lotus. Now, Philo has said this whole entire movie, the feeling and stuff that's depicted in here, it comes from a place of darkness, specifically the darkness we started suffering after the Obama years. To him, we had it really good during the Obama years. And when that ended, when Trump took over presidency, the world turned upside down to a lot of people and things started getting worse. And it was that frustration where this came out of.
Right.
And for him, this movie, he comes out fucking swinging. Like with this thing, because I feel like this movie, to me, again, everybody can have a different reading. I'm not hating you for having a different reading. I'm not hating on anybody for having a different reading of this movie. But to me, this thing gets more relevant as time goes on. That's another thing. Right. Yeah, that's another thing that's good about these types of art is they continue to age really well. So he poured his soul into this movie, and a lot of his influences show. It's horrifying. It's gross. And as we discuss, it's a very funny movie. There is a lot of funny moments in this movie. It's comedy after all, It's a body horror comedy. I've heard it described so many different ways, you guys. So with all that in mind, and the fact that to dissect a piece of surrealist art, this is going to be a very different episode of Night is a Horror File. Let's dive into Kuso from 2017.
So the movie starts off with a news broadcast. Where Leigh, he dies in a pile of shit. Like he died and then people just start shitting on him.
Oh.
Yeah. And then you just are a pile of shit.
Dang, you've been talking to Flying Lotus? is this,
I've channeled my inner Flying Lotus.
Are you making Kuso too? Now
no.
If you're not familiar with Philo, it's cool. Like his following is very niche. I love this type of stuff. Like he does a lot of electronic music, electronic rap and stuff like that. Outsider stuff. He got to start submitting music to Adult Swim. One night he was just watching Adult Swim and it popped up to submit. So they were looking for submissions and he started submitting music, and it kind of just took off from there. I could do a whole show about Flying Lotus. I'm not going to. I'm going to let you guys look up more about him. But the guy was born talented. I mean, he's I think he's the grandnephew of the late jazz pianist Alice Coltrane, whose husband was, of course, saxophonist John Coltrane, which is one of my favorite jazz artists. And he is the grandson of Marilyn McLeod. Now, if you guys don't know who that is, she wrote the music for Diana Ross and Frida Payne. So art's in his blood.
Nice.
Speaking of blood, Philo is also a descendant of the Dakar people from Central Africa. Oh. Now, these people who inhabit the Bamida grass fields in Cameroon, they were known as amazing artists and storytellers. That was like their contribution to the world. They were very good artists and stuff. Spike Lee, Quincy Jones, Don Cheadle are just a few descendants of the Dakar people. For anyone to pull off what we were watching today, it would totally be Philo.
So the movie starts off with a news broadcast about an earthquake, and then it's interrupted by a man singing a jazz number about how their God is underground and that no one is going to save them. There's more to it, but
God is from the underground. Wouldn't you dare fuck around? Yeah. So are you familiar with spoken word or like beat poetry and stuff like that?
I mean, I've heard of it. Yeah.
I am in love with beat poetry. I don't get to hear it very much, but a Def Poetry Jam. That was a big thing. I think that came on like MTV for a while there. It might have been MTV. It might have been VH1. I don't quite remember.
I don't know. VH1 was a lot cooler than MTV.
Might have been VH1. But, I couldn't remember when that show took off, beat poetry took off again. And you could go to like the Gypsy downtown in Tulsa here in Oklahoma, and you could go listen to people do beat poetry. It was fucking amazing. And some of these people were really talented. So this is kind of what this is. It's a spoken word poem. Kind of put the jazz music, which a lot of beat poetry is that, it's always put to like a jazz kind of tune in the background and stuff. following the beat. That's what I
Right,
yeah.
right.
Now, Fly Low took inspiration from how ridiculous the rolling news coverage has gotten these days for these little news segments, because it is specifically the 6 o'clock fucking news where these people pop up and start telling you about awful shit and then making jokes about it.
Yeah.
Man, society's gotten really weird with the news. Yeah. It's less focused on news, like actual stories and stuff that's impactful, and more focused on entertainment. The stuff that makes it to the news isn't necessarily true anymore. Hell, our last president made a whole fucking living off of saying something like fake news all the time. It was easy for him to dismiss, which caused a lot of people to go into a haywire. And now no one can tell what's real and what's not, to the point where I just don't watch the news anymore.
Right.
I get my news from other places. But yeah, Flylo has said in an interview with Clash Music, he said this: the news is becoming more and more ridiculous. Even people who didn't really care about politics before, they have to look at the news now and see if the fucking country is going to explode. It's fucking crazy, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's true. And that's kind of where he's going with this, especially. And this opening, this man singing here is Busdriver. He's a rapper and producer from Los Angeles. Now, he's another artist who kind of steps outside the lines with his music. And if you enjoy RZA, Mika 9, No Kando, and Open Mic, Eagle, or Radio Inactive, that's a really good one. You'll enjoy him. So if any of those sound familiar.
No. I mean, but you did play me some of his
stuff. I played you a little, so Brittany,
and it was good.
Yeah, so Brittany could know what I was talking about, because it's not just rap. Like it's not what you would consider rap.
No.
So I played you that, and I was like, this is what this is. It's kind of it's a very, I'm not expecting our listeners to know who Busdriver is, because he's a very underrated artist in my opinion, but at the same time I understand why people wouldn't go for him. Yeah. There's a lot of people who specifically it's like jazz rap.
You're just going to have to really like this kind of stuff.
It is.
To get
it is. It definitely is. I think that's why this entire movie doesn't quite get on some people's wavelengths. It's kind of like when you play somebody, if you're really into jazz, which I do, I love jazz, but I don't play it for people because jazz music has the ability to piss people off if they're not into it.
Well, I don't know. It would piss you off, but
some people just can't stand the sound. I think you call it elevator music.
Because I don't know. I'm bad. I like my music to have words.
Jazz has words. It can.
It can. Yes, I do know that. Words. But you were listening to elevator music the other day.
I know you walked in. I had John Coltrane on. That's what I had on. I was just jamming out the Coltrane because I love writing to jazz music. It sets the mood for me. I don't know. It gets me thinking. It's kind of like classical music to some people, Your history teacher probably played classical music 24/7. There was always that teacher who played that shit. I love classical music too, but goddamn, man, not when I'm a teenager. I couldn't tell you where I found this type of music. I just found it on my own. It was one of those things, There's always those musics and art that you just discover on your own. No one ever approaches you with it. I think jazz and surrealist art is that's my thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Or someone is like, oh, you haven't heard of this, and then play you one song, then you're like, okay, whatever. And then you go on and you're like, let me listen to some more of this. Let's see if I really like this.
Right.
Yeah.
That is Flylo came from, I remember when I first discovered him, it was because he was rapping under the name Captain Murphy for a little while. And it wasn't but maybe 4 years ago I discovered Flylo. Okay. So I'm not an expert or anything, but I do enjoy his music. But he was rapping under that name. He was performing music under that name. And I liked C-Lab 2020 or 2021 or whatever that fucking Adult Swim show was.
Oh, yeah.
And the character in there is called Captain Murphy. So I just put two and two together. And at the time I was listening to MC Chris, who also performed music on Adult Swim. They used a lot of his music and a few other artists who were Adult Swim contemporaries. Do you remember when Adult Swim was in its fucking heyday, man? That felt like such an underground area for us all to go to.
But everybody was
everybody was watching it, but it felt like underground art to all of us.
Oh,
like it felt like our introduction to some of this underground shit, that like the animation style and like just this weird type of humor.
Because honestly, I knew a lot of people that weren't allowed to watch it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I had a friend who was like straight up, his parents like fucking banned it from their household.
Yeah.
Like, because I believe it would start at like 10 o'clock at night on Cartoon Network. It was either 10 or 11 it would start. And they would start with some softer stuff like Futurama or reruns of King of the Hill and stuff like that. Then you'd start getting into like 12-ounce mouse, Squidbillies, the Venture Brothers. You'd start getting into the harder stuff as you went, you know.
And then you like fall asleep and then you wake up and some weird shit's playing on the TV. You're like, I gotta turn this
and
off.
That weird shit, that's where Flying Lotus got a lot of his inspiration from. You know, Aphex Twin and all those guys, I'm sure got a lot of inspiration from that. Aphex Twin, I keep saying them. They did. He did contribute original music to this movie, which we'll talk about the soundtrack as we go. But I'll talk about it. But that's the type of electronic music I like. You know, I don't really get into EDM or house or anything like that, but like Flying Lotus and stuff like that. That's the stuff I really enjoy.
Okay. You ready to get to the grossest part of the movie?
Are you ready? You know, say what you will about this movie, but it straight up makes you, it allows you to understand that you're not going to know what's happening next.
Oh, yeah.
Especially after we just had a jazz spoken word number that looks like it was shot on 16 millimeter.
Yeah. Yeah.
What were you thinking during that? Because I know you looked at me, you were like, this a musical?
I was like, please don't be a musical.
Is this a fucking musical?
That's all I was thinking was like, I hope this is not a musical. Okay. So this part, the very beginning of the fucking movie, made me want to hurl.
Oh man, it hit me. You know, when I first saw this, I saw this back in like 2018. It hit you.
Yeah.
And you just like, I think I was eating something too. I was eating some kind of dessert when this was going on, like something with icing. And I remember just being like, I'm going to throw up. Yeah. I have to pause this and wait a little bit before I finish.
We were going to eat steak and watch this movie, and you were like,
I was like, no, you should not eat. You should not be eating.
No.
It's the only movie to do that to me. I've never had a gross out to where I'm like, oh my God, I think I might throw up. This is very visceral.
And this was really gross to me. Is even after I'd spent the day like wiping asses and cleaning up period blood and stomach contents that wasn't thrown up that I had to expel from somebody's body. And that stuff didn't gross me out.
And she's not talking about motherhood. She's talking about full-blown adults. She takes care of people with special needs.
Yes. And then this just grossed me the fuck out.
It's funny because, like I said, this does drop my stomach a little bit, but at the same time, I can handle this kind of stuff. It's just this scene, what we're about to get to. Yeah. It really like got me. Like I was surprised.
Just elongating it. I'll just say it.
Yeah, that's true. Let's just get into it. Let's just get into it.
So we are with Missy and Kenneth. She comes in and he pretends to be asleep. And she grabs this rope that he had dropped on the ground. And she ends up choking him with it while he masturbates. Okay, that's normal. Whatever. People do that shit, right?
That does sound like a normal scene, but the way this is shot.
This is not normal. Okay. But this has got to be one of the grossest things I've ever seen, because when he gets done, he takes his cum and wipes it on her face. Okay. I can't say that I've never had cum on my face because, you know.
Yeah, you get into the moment. You're doing some nasty stuff. That wasn't, you know, at first you're like, ew. Oh, that's kind of gross. Ew, that's
But you know what makes this gross? Is that these people, for some reason, have sores all over them. This bed is disgusting. It's got
there's like shit on the pillow and blood.
Pus and like it's not clean. None of this is clean situation.
There's never a clean part of this movie.
No.
Even when they show the outside of that doctor's office, before we even get into the doctor's office, there's like blood smattered on the wall and shit on the sidewalk. There's never a shot in this movie that's clean.
No. So he wants to get her off the same way, but she says no and makes him go to sleep. And then she just starts singing to him. Okay, before we move on, my vibes from this are that this is his broom. She came from a different area in this house or whatever. We don't see it, but because she knocks on the door. She knocks on the door and then she comes inside. So you cannot tell me that this is not brother and sister.
I don't know what it was, but I totally did not pick up on that until Brittany pointed it out.
Yeah.
And it makes me sound dumb, but I totally it didn't connect.
Because, okay, couples that live in the same household, they don't knock on the door.
You're right.
Because what door are you knocking on? And I'm in the room. Like, I'm not doing that.
That's a good point.
Even if you're sleeping, I'm not doing that.
So the incest angle even adds an even worse layer to this fucking thing. And they're making out with his cum and it's terrible.
Oh, yeah. And it gets worse from here.
So one of the questions you had was with all these sores and stuff. You pointed this out because it's never really outwardly explained.
Right.
The question was, did the earthquake that obviously displaced society, which is what this whole movie is, you know, an earthquake took out Los Angeles and kind of put everybody into a post-apocalyptic type of scenario in Los Angeles, because that's where this entire movie takes place. And your question was like, how does that make people into mutants or like whatever these sores and pus bubbles on their faces are? But if you watch the movie real close, like you'll notice clues that after the big one, the earthquake that took out LA, of course, which is a real thing scientists have said might actually happen one day.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, it's not far from the truth. Like it's pretty far from the truth. Anyway, but if you watch closely, you'll notice little like hints to this, that a disease spread out like after the earthquake. Like there's a part where we're going to have a school scene later. There's a part where he's writing on the disease on the wall or on the chalkboard and stuff like that. And people are kind of, there's little hints and stuff to what has happened, but it's not outwardly explained to you, which I kind of like. I prefer. And there was a cut scene that kind of explained it more, but I'll talk about that later on. And it just, everybody's just so fucked up in this movie. Yeah. Like disgusting. There's sores, there's bubbles, there's pus things. People have white eyes. Their irises and pupils are fucking gone. And you can see that as kind of a mirror to our society today, really. Like it's the complete opposite of the spectrum than what we're having going on today with the cookie cutter image of people we have, you know? Like we're in a society now where we talked about this the other day. Leading men in movies are all these like Adonises now.
Oh,
like,
right.
There's no like people who look normal anymore. It's all these cut like probably $100 million a year bodies that fucking populate our screens and stuff. And so this is kind of like the opposite of that. Plus, I'm sure the fact that Flylow lives in the plastic surgery capital of America helped with the influence on this. You know,
right.
LA is full of surgical nightmares. You know, you look at some people who look like these medical monstrosities and you're like, fuck, society made them feel like they needed to do that.
It's sad.
Yeah. And so you can kind of see that disease and the way it's making everybody disgusting, kind of like that, because everybody's accepting this as a norm. No one is.
Nobody's questioning it or anything.
No one's ever like, ew, what are these pus things on your face? I mean, the only questioning we have is at the end when they're you know, the boil.
Right.
It's kind of a question, but everybody just accepts it.
So it's normal for them. So whatever.
Yeah. But there's obviously a problem. And it's this type of stuff that like makes you, this is the stuff that should make you think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like kind of an allegory, like for stuff like we see all these Adonises populating our movie, not a chub in the sight, you know, not a chub in the lot of them. And we see all that and we never question it because we've accepted it as the new norm.
Right. Which is really sad. Now we're at an animation of a guy talking about how his father and or talking about his father, and he says, "What?"
The animation on this, it's simple. It's very simple, but at the same time, it's horrendously disgusting.
Yeah.
I've never seen this type of animation gross me out before, but he's like sitting there when we first are introduced to whatever this guy is. He's like scratching something. It's not quite clear what he's scratching, but it's all boils and pus pockets and stuff
and
like that.
then he like sticks his hand in like
my fuzzy stomach. It's in the voice. It's all just, it's a lot.
yeah. But he says that his dad had told him that mommy's milk sack was rotting from the inside out, and that night they snuck into her room when she was asleep, and the dad had to cut the owie out, but she was happy about it. And she says that he became a man that day, her son, the guy talking. And he says that the world has been missing a real man.
What was your read off of this? Because I can't. Okay, so when people make movies like this, and it's a little infuriating, but Fly Low will not go into too much detail about what things mean.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
He kind of along this. I gotta say, Fly Low is reminding me a lot of David Lynch. You know, when I was really watching this movie and stuff like that, he will not go too far into it. Like there's later we see a pit to hell and there's a triangle in there. Somebody had asked him about that. Like, what's the symbolism of the triangle in the pit to hell? What is that? And he's like, well, you know what it is. I'm not going into it.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So that kind of shit. And David Lynch does the same thing. You know, he does not like talking about his works too much. You know, he won't explain things, which I think is good. It keeps the art in a state of like, it's subjective, you know, whoever watches it will get a different feeling.
Right. I was very confused by this because, to me, I'm trying to figure out what he's actually talking about. Okay. What is mommy's milk sack? Because that would be a titty to me. Okay.
You would think so.
So did they cut her titty off?
I guess.
Why does that make him a man? Because then it makes me think that he came in her or something.
Yeah.
Like they had sex or something like that.
Did they rape his mother?
That's what it sounds like.
And then cut her tits off? Oh my God. See, I didn't have a reading for this. This is the longest bit of animation that breaks up the segments because this whole entire movie, it's going to sound a little weird as we're talking about it, but this entire movie is told in like vignettes that are broken up and separated by these little animations and stuff like that.
Yeah. And
sometimes they're brought together with the animations. And so like just that way, it's non-linear. It's fucking crazy because Brittany loves a non-linear movie. She has said this many of times.
Do I?
I think this is your most hated form of storytelling. The only way you accepted it was Quentin Tarantino, and that's because it was cool.
Because he did it right, okay?
But it totally gives you the vibe of nightmare.
Yeah.
This movie, to sum it up in words, really, it's a funny nightmare.
Funny?
I find it funny.
It's funny the way...
You know, that's an interesting part because this is supposed to be funny. A lot of this is supposed to be funny.
You told me that.
Yeah, some of it's supposed to be horror, obviously.
Yeah.
This is straight up horror because, dear God, what is he talking about and why?
What's mommy's milk sack?
Yeah, everybody will have a different reading. So, you know, add us if you have a reading on this. That'd be great. That's some good discussion. But like, I absolutely had nothing on this. It just scared me. But one of the most interesting facts about this movie is the fact that like a lot of people don't pick up on the comedy. Like you have people who completely miss the comedic moments and only pick out on the gross.
Well, if you would not have told me that it was supposed to be funny, I probably would have laughed about it, but like in my head, like been like, oh, that's funny to me, but I probably shouldn't say that out loud.
It has a lot of moments that are just straight comedy. I mean, especially when we get to the later segments, like there is a lot of just straight jokes.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of these moments that's a humor that not a lot of people get into. And it was the same way with Tim and Eric. Awesome show. Great job. Which was on Adult Swim.
That's a long name for a TV show.
That's the funny part. It's this type of humor that's this walking nightmare that like it affects you in a way where you find it funny.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it other than that. It gets to you in a certain way where
It gives
you just
you
start
like a
laughing.
nervous giggle.
Yeah. And then you just find it hilarious. It's it's an odd form of comedy, but it's there, you know.
Maybe it's a coping mechanism.
Right. But a lot of people didn't pick up on that in their reviews. And a lot of people like really gripped onto the gross. There's two crowds of reviewers of this movie. Some people gave it a bad review, even though they did find it funny. You know what I mean? But there are two crowds that grasp onto the gross out, and there's parts that really grasp onto the humor.
Right.
Like there's people who will tell you this is a really funny movie. And then there's people who will straight up just tell you it's disgusting. It's trash. It's gross. The movie itself tells you it's gross and it's trash.
It's called Kuso.
Yeah, it's called shit.
Yeah.
Like the movie is self-aware that this is gross.
Right.
There's no winning an argument with this movie. That's the funny part. Because you could be like, well, this is gross for gross sakes. And it's like, yeah, that's what we were going for.
Yeah.
Welcome. And then you'd be like,
Trying
well,
to gross you out.
yeah. And you're like, well, it was funny, but I don't find that kind of funny humorous. I know we're making fun of you for it. That's what's in this movie.
Oh my God.
There's no winning an argument with this thing.
No. So now we're with the kid named Charlie, and his mom is feeding him some weird food. It's got like maggots in it and shit. And then he leaves for school. And I had to point this out because it's no relevance really. But as she's walking away from the house, there's 3 dudes that show up to like hang out with his mom. Like 2 of them walk in, and then the last one like picks her up and carries her into the house.
I'm pretty sure this is hinting that they're about to gangbang this dude's mom.
Well, yeah, duh. But it's really strange to me because this mom and this kid just seem like it's like we've been thrown back in time.
Yeah.
And you feel like it's very old-timey kind of thing.
Mhm.
But then these dudes show up and you're like, oh, this is real time. Like, this is not... Because they're just wearing like basketball clothes and like...
Yeah. And then it turns into Mad Max at one point with the school setting here in a little bit. Like it's definitely a post-apocalyptic time.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but you're right. I'm glad you brought that up because the time setting in this is way
For
off.
this vignette.
For this vignette.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything else is pretty clear
Yeah.
where we're at. But this one, yeah, you're right. It feels completely out of time and it feels lost. It feels more of a fantasy than it does any kind of time period. It feels like it's from a whole different world.
Right. And you know what? Actually, in the first one, I kind of felt like that too, that we were back in time, but more like we were back in the 90s. And I say that because they have a Super Nintendo.
Oh, yeah. This is Flying Lotus.
The Flying Lotus
That's
as the
great.
game.
Yeah.
And they have this little like black and white TV-ish thing.
There's a lot of tube TVs in there, which
Yeah.
also throws you off.
Yeah. So, and then we're thrown into this with Charlie and his mom, and it just feels older, like a different time, a different place, because like you had said, like we were thrown in, or we're in LA the whole time.
Yeah.
But this does not feel like
does
LA.
not. This
feels like some woods in the
like Georgia
middle of
or
like,
something. You know, you look at this and I was seeing Georgia for some reason. I was like,
Yeah.
no, I think we're still supposed to be in LA.
and we are, from what
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
It's just a different part, you know?
Yeah. I love that you brought that up. Like the time period thing, it feels weird.
Yeah.
Like in later, you have little elements of like stuff from the 90s. Like you said, you have like a 1-800 number later, which
Yes.
the 1-800 nightmare. Again, this one out of all of them to me felt more of the walking nightmare that we're looking at because there's so much going on in this segment alone.
So she's feeding him weird food. The dudes come up to fucking gangbang her or whatever. And while he's walking through the woods, there's a guy there. He's staring at the water with his head tilted, and there's these whole fucking chickens. And it's not chickens like with feathers. It's like chicken that you buy at the store.
Yeah, it's like a rotisserie chicken.
Like a rotisserie chicken, not cooked.
Yeah, there's no fish in
it's
this
raw.
fucking creek.
It's fucking chickens, and they're swimming around like fish, and they even have these like weird faces.
Yeah, it starts like pushing a face out of its ass.
Yeah.
Flylo himself had looked at, he was like, you know, sometimes I feel like this movie's super deep. And I noticed you felt it too.
Uh-huh.
With these scenes when he's walking to school and stuff, they drag on and they play out, and there's this like really unassuming kind of music to it and stuff like that, it does make you feel like you're like, wow, we're getting into something real deep. We're getting into real deep territory. And then you see this where this guy just pops a bone.
Yeah, because this guy just pops a boner watching these fucking chickens.
And Philo himself has said, you know, sometimes I feel like it's real deep. And then I see a scene like this specifically. And I'm like, why? Why did I do this? What was I thinking?
I don't think he was. So Charlie gets to school, which is in the woods, and ends up. Okay, by the way, this classroom looks like it's like in a tree stump. This classroom is weird.
It's like part tree stump, part shed.
I don't know, but there's like little bitty desks. There's like 20 kids packed in this little bitty room with the teacher who doesn't talk.
Just to fuck
Which
you
is
up.
weird.
Yeah, just to fuck you up even more. Like, there's an adult here sitting with the kids. Shane Carpenter himself is an adult who plays Charlie.
Yes.
He's just a very uniquely shaped individual. I think I don't think he's a little person, but he's
No, he's not.
very uniquely shaped.
And I could tell by his hands.
You guys have probably seen him in I believe he was in a few American Horror Stories.
Probably.
I can't quite remember, but Shane Carpenter's really cool. Very unique features, which I really enjoy. Because Philo, all these characters, even the actors and stuff, they all have these unique features to them. Not necessarily the boils and the added makeup, but they all have like a unique shape.
So Charlie's sitting in class and he ends up shitting himself. And everybody just laughs at him until he runs out.
Yeah, because the food this woman is feeding him
is making him shit.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like little things I was trying to understand here, because did you get the feeling, okay, again, weird readings from things. Did you get the feeling she was feeding him dead pieces of his dead dad?
Oh, shit balls. Yeah.
Because there's parts where you see a picture of them all together, and it's obviously his dad, but his dad looks like oh, it's scary. He's
like all kinds of fucked
he's
up,
like a cross between fucking the dude who played Doc Brown and the fucking Mr. Clean. It's a weird fucking look to this animated father, but like, because later when he gets to the thing you're about to talk about, he gives it an eyeball that he threw up, and you see that eyeball in the food, and I was like, is she feeding him dead pieces of his father?
Maybe so. I didn't think about that. So he runs out of the woods, and he runs deeper into the woods. I'm sorry. And he ends up finding this tree. Okay. This tree has a hole in it, and it looks like a butthole.
Yeah. It's an asshole.
Yeah. So this tree has a butthole hole.
Yep. It's an asshole.
And it's got this thing sticking out of it. And then upon further inspection, closer inspection, it's a worm. But it looks like a tongue. Yeah,
it looks like a tongue coming out of that. This is what we're working with, guys. It's a tongue coming out of the asshole. We're having a hard time explaining what this is.
But it's a worm.
It is all sorts of weird.
Anyway, Charlie goes over. He takes a shit. He decides that this butthole tree needs to taste his shit. So he goes over, he picks up his shit and rubs it on this worm. What compelled him to do that? I don't know, because buttholes produce their own shit. Why do you need to feed it shit?
A fecal transplant? I've heard of those. I don't know. I think you're asking too much questions.
Yeah.
This is definitely one of those movies. Just go with it. Feel what it makes you feel. Which, speaking of feel what it makes you feel, I picked up on a lot of racial stuff. I'm picking up on all sorts of stuff in the school.
Yeah. Okay. So we didn't talk about this because I didn't know how to put it in. But when he like shits himself and he's still sitting there before he runs out of the classroom, I guess the teacher thought that it was like one of the students.
Well, the black student sneezes.
Oh, is that what that was? So then he locks him in like this.
He puts him in the hole.
Like in a hole in the ground, yeah. And
which is
shuts
weird
the door.
Because then if you look at the teacher closely, he has an armband on. It's not a Nazi armband, but it definitely gives you images of a Nazi.
Yeah.
And you see this. It's a very visceral moment when he puts this kid in the hole, this black student, and then just shuts the door because you see that armband and the way he's looking at him. It's real like authoritarian, and it's creepy to me.
Yeah.
And then like when we're first introduced to this school, they got the black kid like pushed up against the tree and they're rubbing ice cream in his face. Like, so it's weird. And you wonder if like he's trying to say something about like the school system's treatment of black students.
That's true. Yeah. I could see that. is weird.
It's deep.
Yeah.
you could really pull some deep imagery out of this movie.
Yeah. So now we're with a lady that is talking to her doll and tells it to be good.
I liked how they transitioned from Charlie to this because, again, everything's kind of broken up with these animations and stuff. She's playing a video game, like almost like a Game Boy, and it's like of Charlie feeding the thing shit.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And
yeah.
like 8-bit pixels and stuff like that. It's really cool.
And then she's just in this place. I don't know. Anyway, so
it's unexplained. We are not told a setting here. I don't.
I don't know. It's dark, and she looked like she'd been down here for a while. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So, she's telling her doll to be good. So then she sees a roach crawling across the ground, and she goes over to eat it.
There's a lot of roach imagery in this movie.
Yeah.
A lot of cute roaches, a lot of nasty roaches.
There's no cute roaches.
I don't know. There's a roach with a trumpet later that I really thought was adorable. This little roach comes out, just starts blowing a trumpet, which makes no sense, but it was there. I enjoyed it.
You're a psycho. Anyway, she's almost like playing with this roach while she's eating it. I guess maybe she's starving. And so maybe she's not playing with it, but she's savoring it.
Yeah, and it feels like she's in prison too.
Imprisoned underground?
Do you feel?
Is kind of what it feels like.
Again, getting readings off of this that could be from anywhere. I don't know, you guys. Like maybe you have different readings. I'm sure you have a different reading than me. I felt like she's in limbo.
Oh, she might be in limbo.
Yeah, because I mean, you could think about the basic form of limbo would be just a stasis in between worlds. Things aren't complete, so you're not traveling and stuff like that.
That makes sense.
Which makes sense because when we do get to the pit to hell, which you'll get to in just a second, but like when we do get there, it's represented by a triangle in the middle. And one of the theories on what, because triangles have a lot of meaning. The symbol of a triangle has a lot of meaning, and one of the biggest things that people like to touch on is it means balance. You know, you have three things that have to be together to balance in life.
Okay.
And a lot of that, and one of the meanings I believe is like heaven, hell, and life.
Okay.
Or in this case, it could be limbo.
It could be.
Yeah, it could represents the three areas. Again, it could mean anything, you guys. Whatever you want it to mean.
Anyway, so she's eating this roach, and then there's like this earthquake thing we find out later on is an aftershock. And then there is a man with a roach head, or it's just a roach in a suit.
I think it's a roach with a suit.
Maybe it's just a roach with a suit, but it's upright.
It's adorable.
It's not.
This roach in a suit.
And he's got a fucking, what do you say, a trumpet?
This says something about me when I see a roach in a suit. I'm like, oh.
Just because they put a suit on doesn't mean they get to live in my house, okay?
Good point, good point.
So it's really dark now, and she's looking for her baby after this aftershock or whatever. And she bites into the concrete, almost like trying to like dig to get through this wall of concrete, but bites it. I don't know.
Or just eating it.
I don't know. Anyway, so now we see she's trapped in this other place, and she's saying that she needs to get to her baby and to eat her baby to stay alive.
Yeah, this hits you out of nowhere.
Huh?
Because there's something talking to her here in a second, and I'm assuming that's God.
Okay, I guess. That's an interpretation. I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know what it is.
Sending her from limbo to hell, I guess.
Well, he tells her, okay, so the voice tells her that the answers are in the hole, and that's where her baby is, and her baby is trapped. So the woman says that the hole is the gateway to hell, and there's a beast in there. And he basically tells her to be really careful. By the way, her name is Angel.
Yeah,
I don't know why I said that. Why I didn't say that before, but her name is Angel.
Which adds more to the mythology, like religion and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, Christianity and stuff. The themes here. There's a lot of religious imagery in this segment, I believe. Alone, there's a lot of that.
Yeah. Because he says if she's careful, she can get her baby out of there and they'll be fine. Well, she ends up falling into the hole. So this is kind of to me, if we're going on the religious aspect of it, is everybody skirts that sinning line, and you have to be really careful of because you're gonna fall in
Oh yeah, I could see that.
to the
you know?
devil's trap.
And with her name being Angel, it's like a fallen angel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can see kind of where this is.
Yeah, wow.
Didn't expect that, did you?
No. See, that's what I like about this kind of art. You know, we might have different readings and stuff like that, but it's a very discussable movie.
Right.
And so you got somebody, like you said, skirting the line, you know, and then when they cross that, they fall into hell. You know,
Right.
It's a fallen angel and stuff like that. And she says, that's hell. There's a beast down there. Like later we see her with somebody, which we'll get to that part in a minute, which is kind of funny. But it's another human. So does that just mean the beast is us? Are we in hell all the time? You know what I mean? Like, is this hell already?
No, I agree. Yeah.
Is hell a sitcom as we see?
So now we're thrown into a game show, and this looks like a game show from like the 80s.
I think it definitely is an old game show. I'm pretty sure this
looks like it, yeah.
I can't remember what game show this is. It's from the 70s.
It almost looks like The Price is Right.
Kinda. And they superimposed like mouths and like sores all over these people.
Yeah. And so they're telling her, this woman, that she has to choose to resuscitate a child or drink a cup of spit for a 600 night stay in a hotel. What?
And this is just another little thing that separates the vignettes again.
Yeah.
Like this really has nothing to do with anything. It's just.
No. I have no idea.
It's thought provoking.
You know what comes to mind though?
What comes to mind?
Okay, I say no idea. I say I have no idea, but then I have a thought, so I don't know.
Well,
what
and
I
that's
was
the best.
about.
That's the best way to analyze this.
You know
stuff.
what it is?
You say what you immediately think
Okay,
about.
what I immediately think about, and the reason I didn't want to say it is because I didn't want to be wrong, and then I realized I'm not going to be wrong.
You're
because
never
it's
going to be
my
wrong.
interpretation.
Yeah, you're never
so
going to be wrong about this.
My interpretation is this is kind of like abortion.
There
Right?
is a lot of abortion metaphors in this.
Yeah.
Well, there's a straight up abortion later.
Right. So she has to choose to resuscitate this child, so save the child or drink the spit. And so I immediately think of save the child or have the child or eat the cum so that you don't have a child.
Whoa. Well, that's some deep shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is just how I take it.
That's interesting, man.
Yeah.
See what I mean about thought provoking?
Yeah.
Like, and that's what I mean by like, that's how you look at this stuff. It's whatever comes first, whatever it makes you feel is your reading.
Right.
You know, such as, you know, and never be afraid to like say what you read out of something. Like I see that a lot, especially in these days and age, you know, with Twitter and stuff like that. Everybody's so fucking scared to be wrong about something.
Right.
It's okay to be wrong.
Right.
And it gets to the point where everybody's so afraid to be wrong about something to the point where they won't truly say what they've read into something.
Right.
You know, they won't say it because typically when someone says something, you're always going to have somebody who thinks it's dumb.
Right.
There's always going to be that person. And with Twitter, the way it is, you get fucking verbally attacked when you have a different reading than everybody else. You know,
That's
when
so
you go against the norm, you know,
Right.
which that's why I think this movie is so kind of very, very relevant. Because it's kind of showing you what happens when you go against with the norm. If you go with it and conform so hardcore to the point where you're not normal anymore, but you're normal in society's eyes.
Right.
Like it's boring. Like,
Yes. Very boring. So then we get this quick little flash of Missy choking Kenneth again, and she's yelling, "What's my name?"
It's a quick cut.
Yes.
And this, like, I was kind of giggling a little bit in these early things. I know you were like, I didn't really find this funny, but I was giggling and stuff. I was having a good time. But that scene, I died. I had to stop. I had to pause the movie for a second because once Angel falls into hell or whatever you read that into, this movie picks up.
Oh, yeah.
This movie picks up like to an insane amount. It starts going. So like I started laughing and I was already like 4 scenes later and I was like, I gotta rewind. I'm still laughing about that quick cut.
So now we're seeing a commercial for what we think is an anxiety meds, is what I read it as.
Hello,
okay.
people.
But then it's actually a doctor, and he says that he's a doctor for the Valley Alt Coat Hanger Clinic. So the abortion clinic, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, why not call it what it is? Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely an abortion clinic, but also it's also a sexual health clinic. Like,
okay, but here's the reading on that.
Okay, yeah, give it to
it's
us.
It's a fucking Planned Parenthood.
It exactly is. And it's almost like when you watch this movie, it's almost like what these idiots who are protesting and bombing these places and threatening all these people, it's what they think this fucking is.
Yes, they think that it's just a fucking coat hanger clinic, and that's not all it is.
The coat hanger is what we're trying to avoid, people.
Right.
That's why you don't want to ban abortion.
Right. But this doctor says that he can cure you of your darkest fear in one visit.
Which is funny because like he says darkest fear and you're seeing these like family things playing out behind him.
Yeah.
You're like, a lot of people's darkest fear is a baby.
Yeah.
It's funny because they don't straight up. The only time like abortion really gets mentioned is when B's story kicks in.
Yeah.
In a minute. But like it's hinting at abortion without coming out and saying it. Kind of like how we do that, like society. We don't want to straight up say abortion.
You know what I just thought about?
What?
Oh, I just thought about Angel's thing, okay? If she chooses the baby, she will die.
Oh shit. See, we're getting more and more layers here. The layers run deep.
Oh yeah.
I bet you didn't think you'd be analyzing this movie like this today.
No. Absolutely not.
But yeah, so this little commercial, this is George Clinton from the Parliament. Flashlight. You know that song. Everybody know that song?
No.
Tell the roof off.
Nobody knows that song.
Tell the roof off the sucker. Tell the roof off the mother sucker. I never in a million years thought I'd see George Clinton in this movie. When I first saw this movie, I was like, is that fucking George Clinton? Oh man. I guess though, like it does make sense that he'd be down for this because if anybody knew about the beat poetry days or outside art, it'd be George Clinton, man.
I guess since you played me his song.
Well, yeah, because while everybody else was getting into disco, you know, like the Bee Gees and shit like that, Parliament was tearing up. They were tearing the roof off the mother sucker with funk. You know, funk was the outside art of the day. You know.
Hey, I like some funk music.
Oh, funk is. Whoa, it's called funk for a reason. It's funky.
It's funky. So now we're with B. She's smoking weed and watching some weird shit on TV. And by weird shit, I mean they are mutilating this guy's fucking urethra.
It is a fucking snuff film.
Like they are mutilating this guy's urethra. And she's sitting with these creatures. I don't remember what they called them.
They're like intergalactic beings. They're called banishers. And they banish people to other dimensions.
Yes.
Is all I could pick up from this.
And she's talking to them about how they have banished all her friends and family and she wants to see them. And then she goes to the bathroom and takes a pregnancy test. And while she's sitting there, a man's head comes out of the toilet. And he says that he's just checking on her. And she says she has a restraining order against him. And come to find out, he raped her when she was drunk, and he describes it. He was like, "You were laying there like a dead dog," but he's like excited about it, and he was like, "You don't remember any of it?"
So Phil is played by Tim Heidecker, who was half of one of my favorite Adult Swim shows. Tim and Eric, awesome show, great job. He's one half of that. More funny nightmare stuff. You guys should check that out if you enjoy this movie. But I have never seen Tim Heidecker in a role like this, even in his shows and stuff like that. And he does amazing comedic music. And he was very, very outspoken about President Trump. He was one of the first people I remember being super into talking shit about him.
Oh, wow.
He wrote a whole album of Trump diss songs. One of them was called Trump's Dumps Are Coming Up Black.
Oh, God.
But this guy's fucking amazing. I would say him and Eric Warheim from Awesome Show, Great Job. Well, their first show for Adult Swim was Tom Goes to the Mayor. And I feel like they kind of invented this type of humor. The humor we have in this movie, which is like this weird, creepy, sometimes it's just so awkward it's funny. This type of humor that's almost impossible to explain. It's an outside art in itself, you know.
I guess, sure.
This funny walking nightmare shit.
But this is really sad because, you know, this shit happens all the time. Women get raped, they get pregnant via the rape, they get a restraining order, and the guy just keeps fucking coming around.
And that's what's crazy about this. Like, it's because B's story, without all this fucking imagery and shit like that, it is a normal story.
Yeah.
It's a girl struggling to become a rap artist.
Yeah.
Who fucking got fucking drunk raped one night. And now she's pregnant with some dude's baby who she hates and who won't stop coming around.
Yeah.
And then she has two shitty roommates that are her only companions.
Right. Oh, it's pretty sad. Sad.
But this is what I mean by, like, even the movie itself is self-aware, because she sits down on the couch. She's like, this is garbage. Art is garbage.
Yes.
I hate this fucking movie.
Yes. I mean, I would probably hate a movie that I was watching mutilated penis, but okay.
Man, but these two dudes, man, it's good shit. These two intergalactic banishers.
And they're not dudes. They're like fuzzy things with TV screen faces.
Like Fraggle Rock rejects. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's crazy.
Yes. So then we see a news clip that there was an aftershock of this earthquake. And it's so funny because they're like, I love a good aftershock. What? What?
I don't know, because it's so ridiculous that the dude is like, fucking, what I like most about this aftershock is all my enemies are dead.
Right. I guess if you want to see the light in something, you can. I don't know.
Brittany's so lost. We are in the fucking weeds with this movie too. We're sitting here tearing it apart and stuff like that, and we are deeper than what the movie is. We're like, is that an angel? Does that represent hell? Demons?
Now we're back with Charlie and his mom. It's making him eat some weird shit again. And it's got maggots and eyeballs in it. Or an eyeball. When he acts like he's not going to eat it, she forces it down his throat. And then he goes to the woods with the butthole tree again. And now it has a face inside instead of the worm. So it's evolved a little bit.
And this is what I was saying. If you look at that face, it's and they even superimpose that picture that we saw earlier of, I guess it's his dad.
Yeah.
We see that and it's the same face. So that's what I mean. Is she feeding him pieces of his own dad? And then he goes here and he smears the shit, which would be the pieces onto the
he's
worm
like
thing.
putting his dad back
Yeah, it's
together?
like resurrecting it. It's all sorts of fucked up. And then he gets power from this thing.
So he goes and takes another shit, rubs it on the face, and then the face like lasers him and he pukes and notices his hands covered in shit or whatever. Like it's almost like he's realizing what's going on.
Yeah.
That he didn't know before. I don't know.
Yeah, because this is a scene where he picks up that eyeball from his vomit and puts it in the eye socket and it like sucks in there.
Yeah.
The effects in this movie are out of this world too, because it is like body horror to an insane level.
Oh, extreme.
Like, wow.
Everything in this movie is kind of extreme.
It is very extreme. Like, it's not, I don't know, because like, I heard people saying it's all just gross out stuff for gross out sake. It is shock value for shock's sake and stuff like that. And some people are calling it lower art. But for some reason, everything feels Like it flows. Like the music, first of all, let's start with the music. The music in this movie is an awesome aspect. Philo being a musician himself, that's not surprising, but he had most of the music planned before the movie was filmed. He'd write these pieces as he was writing the movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then, he would create this music based on the feelings he got, and he would immediately know what to do when he shot each scene. He would even play the tracks for the cast and crew so they could get into the same vibe, before they would shoot. So everybody kind of knew, okay, this is what this is supposed to feel like.
Okay.
All of this music, from shots to effects, to the even the acting, it all feels organic.
Right.
Like you see something that's shocking and gross, but it feels like it belongs there. Like it doesn't feel like this was just thrown in.
Right.
That's why I
do agree with that.
That's what I mean by organic, and it doesn't feel like shock value for shock's sake to me. I've seen a lot of movies where it's just, here's a shocking rape scene we just threw in just to disturb you a little. That's all we're going for. This has no bearing on the plot.
Like Deliverance?
Well, I suppose they didn't truly have to butt rape Ned Beatty on that side of the river.
No.
I suppose you're right, but but there has been movies that's just tossed in, and that's where honestly that lowers my feeling of your movie when I can tell you're just trying to shock me, right? And you're just trying to make me feel weird. But if it isn't organic, that's where I'm like, well, this is stupid. I think this is dumb. I'm not following your storytelling at that point. Right. And this movie, take the story out, take all the image, like the metaphors and whatever readings you have of this movie, throw it out the window. This movie's compelling just by visual and audio. Yes. Alone. Yes. That's what locks you in. And I like that, like with Charlie, and I like with all of them, we're in different places. There's different settings for all of them. They're all kind of stuck. Like Charlie's kind of stuck in the woods and in his mom's house. Mm-hmm. And like Bee's kind of stuck in her apartment. She goes to other places. But then Missy and Kenneth, they're in Kenneth's room the whole time. So, but it feels like if they were individual movies, it'd be weird because they'd just be in one place. Yeah. But I like how it's all different. I think that's how it originally started, because he had said that he was going to release an album called Kuso. And he had shown a short film somewhere. I think one of his concerts or something. He showed Royal, which is the Kenneth and what's her name? Yeah. That's that segment. I think he had showed that as a short film, and then it just expanded from there. Watching it during like the pandemic and the times we're in now, watching it now has a different impact than when you watched it back then, because like watching it again in the times we are in, it feels like this world is way too familiar. Oh yeah. It feels like it's not that like separate from our own existence. This could happen. This could be happening. Yeah. It probably is fucking happening. Yeah, it feels way too fucking familiar. Yeah. And that's what's creepy, because you're like, oh, this is like watching a nightmare version of what we're in now, even though what we're in now is a nightmare. But it's almost like what this movie does, it rips the beauty covering off of our world that we're in right now. Right. It rips all the glam and the glitz and the decorative stuff and stuff that makes everything look so shiny and new. It completely rips that apart and shows it what it is. Which is not good. Yeah. That's what I mean by this movie is a lot deeper than I think a lot of people give it credit for. Yeah. So now we're back with Angel, and she sees this man get taken away and eaten. And then she sees the Roach Man again about to play the trumpet. No. And there's a woman with her, and they're kind of like attached at the legs. Yeah, and they play a laugh track, and it's like it looks like they're acting like it's a sitcom. It looks like a sitcom's about to start, which is weird because like you get into this and it is kind of funny because the lady's like, you don't grow on me, I fucking grow on you and shit like that. It is kind of silly, but at the same time it's grotesque, and
I don't understand this one. I have no interpretation for this one.
If I wanted to read real deep into it, I would say maybe it's a reflection on the stuff we watch on TV. It's grotesque at the same time, but we're accepting it because it's funny.
I guess so, yeah.
We laugh at things like
Kuso?
Yeah. I think the only reason this movie is acceptable is because it does have a certain charm to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we laugh at stuff like 90 Day Fiance or something like that, when really it's a grotesque fucking display of relationships.
Right. This is not how.
That's just a super deep reading.
Life
I'm just pulling that out of my ass. It could be that. It could just be that's there. That's what this is.
Right.
That's what I love about this movie. I don't know. I don't want to know. Like with stuff like this, I do not want the director to sit down with me or something and tell me exactly what everything means. I don't want that.
Because you don't want it to be ruined for you.
No, because I like the readings I take away from it.
Right.
And I'll talk about it later on, but I feel like every time I watch this, it's a new interpretation.
Right.
And it all depends on the time period I'm in. I could watch this 10 years from now. Maybe things are better 10 years from now, and it would make me reflect on the past.
Right.
Like, but now it's just like, oh, this is literally what we're living in. It's a shit covered world. It's just, it looks better than it does in Kuso.
It's a shit covered world and there's a lot of fucking roaches.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now we're in a porn commercial and you can call 188-RAT-FUCK.
Dude. This fucking thing. I've had a nightmare like this.
What?
Where it's like sexy and then but also grotesque at the same time. I've had nightmares like this. So this is
because they're like fucking an alien thing.
Oh God. She's jerking this alien tentacle off with her feet that looks like a dick. It's not sexy.
But only
it's the only
$5
time a foot job has never turned me on.
But only $5.99 a minute. But if you keep looking at the different angles and the different screens and stuff that they have,
changing.
The price keeps going up and up. And at one point, it's like $26 a minute.
Yeah, and it's off the wall. Hey, bitch, you want to get shot? She fucking shoots this chick. Like,
what the hell? I have no words. So to the abortion clinic, B goes. She's there. And then there's a man there named Manuel, and he's trying to get service, and the person in the front at the counter or whatever, it's not making a lot of sense, and they're trying to figure things out. I didn't go into great detail about this.
You have discharge? You have discharge?
He's like, I'm going to come back.
No, I didn't. No.
But then she just like drops down, and then this sex doll comes up and tells the man that he owes them $250. Okay, I don't know if it was $2.50 or $250 because he just pulls like a wad of money. Like it's just wadded up money, but it's like a couple dollars. So maybe it was $2.50. Anyway, and then the blow up doll wants the money in its mouth. So he shoves it in its mouth. I don't know. I don't know.
You could pull a lot of shit out of your ass to explain this one if you wanted to.
I don't want to. So there's another man there with them, and he's talking about all kinds of weird shit. And then he says to call the number for a free trial, the 1-800-RAT or the 188-RAT-FUCK.
Which I love how this dude is introduced because B's like, "Hey, what's with that guy?" And you just look over, this dude's just staring him down.
So then he stands up, undoes his pants, and grabs something out and throws it on the ground.
It's shit. He just threw shit at it.
Was it?
Oh no! This is the
This is the part.
This is the part where he throws like a Batman like smoke thing to make him so he can disappear like a ninja.
And then Manuel's like, I can still see you.
Still see you, my dude. What the fuck?
And he just kind of walks away. So Manuel says to B that the earthquake has fucked everyone's brain. But come to find out, he is there because he's scared of boobs.
It is a wonderful joke too. This is a little bit because they're talking about something like kind of deep and stuff. And what's really funny is at first you're like, are these two hitting it off? This is kind of nice.
Yeah.
She seems like she has a shitty existence. He probably has a shitty existence due to the world he lives in. Like, maybe they're hitting it off and then they're just fucking.
He's scared of boobs. And she's kind of laughing at him.
Yeah.
So he goes to the back. And then B is there with a coat. They just like gave her a coat hanger. Like, just do it yourself. This is a DIY thing?
Yeah, because they give her like that, and they give her like this clipboard that it looks like it has instructions for how to do it.
Yes. I didn't take it like that, but I don't know how I took it. I just didn't know what she was doing.
It's definitely commentary on abortion. Like,
yeah.
I think definitely watching it now again. Whoa. Like,
oh yeah.
Like you wonder, like, because this was made in like 2017, probably shot in 2016. So you're watching this, you're like, Jesus, man. Like,
they just gave her the instructions. And you just DIY this shit.
Because that's how that shit's gonna go, man. You guys, like, no joke. That's why you don't ban this kind of shit.
Yeah.
Because now we're just gonna have people sticking coat hangers up them.
And then they're gonna get infections.
And they're gonna die. So many people are gonna die.
Well, they don't care about the live people.
Oh no, definitely not. Once you're born, you're fucked.
Oh yeah. So she just ends up leaving because Manuel was talking to her and telling her that she needs to tell the dude that she's pregnant. And she's like, why? And I agree. Why? Why does she need to tell him?
I like
he
this
raped
commentary.
Her?
Again, it's due to the time we're living right now. You know, we're talking about this shit a lot. And so maybe this impacts me more than it did back in 2018 when I first saw this movie. Because I didn't think anything of this.
Right.
But like now watching it and they're talking about like telling the man and then, you know, the man should know and shit like that.
He should have a choice.
He should have a choice and shit like that. And you're kind of more on B's side, like about, because she's like, why? And stuff. And then she does decide to go tell him.
Right.
Which I guess is a good thing. But at the same time, like.
No.
Yeah. Again,
No.
it's more stuff that just starts to make you talk.
No, fuck that. He doesn't have a choice. It's not his body. Like she said, she's like, it's my body, not his.
And that's good art. Because guess what? Kuso, the film where people are shoving things in their ass and pulling things out of their ass and fucking goiters. Kuso made us start talking. You know, that's good art. It should make you start discussing these types of things. It should bring stuff up to make you start discussing.
Right. So now we're back with Angel, and she looks like she's in this stomach thing and she's trying to crawl out of it. And the roach man says to not fear the feces, for that is her baby. Is he just saying her baby's shit?
Yeah, I suppose so.
So then this worm thing eats her inside of the stomach. I don't fucking know. And she travels through it in a weird neon tunnel thing with all kinds of bugs and boob looking things.
It looks like a straight up asshole. Like we're traveling through a colon full of butts and boobs and all sorts of weird animation.
And then this travels us back to Manuel.
Which I love.
And we'll get to that in a second.
I love the way this connects. Like,
yes.
Again, and we're talking, you know, I don't know. I think our conversation is picked up naturally because of this movie. Because again, the movie is picking up.
Yeah.
Like it speeds through here.
Oh, yeah.
in this little vignette, Mr. Quiggle, which is all the stuff with the Dr. B and the amateur rapper and her intergalactic roommates. It's all included here.
Right.
It's probably, I think, the funniest segment in this movie.
Yeah.
By the way, you know,
yes.
Everything wraps into each other here. It's a fucking nightmare. It's like someone filmed a literal nightmare. Yeah. Like that's the biggest explanation I have, because like I said, like you watch this movie and this is the best depiction of how a dream or how a nightmare goes. Like there's no clear cut end or start to things. Right. Like things happen for no reason. You know, the best example like came is like a dream I had one time where I'm driving a car and then all of a sudden I'm driving a bed.
Oh, damn.
You know, or like all of a sudden, you know, I'm standing in a field, but then like I look over and I'm back in my bedroom, but it's also my teacher is there talking to me. That's what this movie is.
Right.
It's the best depiction of a nightmare.
You're right. You're right.
In an interview, Flylo, he talked about how when he was younger, nightmares had a big influence on this movie. When he was younger, he had just seen RoboCop. I'm sure everybody remembers RoboCop. And that night he had a dream that he was getting his limbs blown off like Murphy in the movie, because that's how RoboCop forms. The criminals blow his fucking Red from that 70s show blows his fucking arms off. And it just shocked him how disturbed and fucked up a movie made him feel.
Right.
And he said, he thought back on that and he was like, that's what I want to do to someone. I want to make them feel fucked up like a nightmare.
Well, that's kind of weird.
And he definitely fucking achieves it here.
Oh, yeah. I would say so.
I think that's what makes this so appealing to some people who really enjoy this movie. And I'm not speaking for everyone. I'm sure everybody has different reads on why they enjoy this thing. But for me, I enjoy it because of that, because of dreams. I really like dreams. I think they're very interesting. I like to dissect them. Maybe they mean stuff. Maybe they don't mean things, but maybe they do. Maybe they're our subconscious or unconscious mind playing out things when we sleep. And I find that very interesting in this movie, especially because I can watch this over and over again and keep reading things into it and pulling different messages out and stuff like that. It's a literal feast if you enjoy interpreting dreams and nightmares and stuff like that.
Right.
You ever have a nightmare like that just like fucking just goes all over the fucking place and it doesn't make any sense?
Not really.
No, because you're the one who you don't have good dreams.
I do not.
Brittany has nightmares
every
time. Me, I'll have a nightmare maybe once a month. And the rest of the time I'm slaying dragons or talking to celebrities. Like I said, I'm driving a bed. I'm living a Willy Wonka world over here while Brittany's having these vivid fucking nightmares.
Most of the time I can't remember them. I just know I wake up crying. And it's usually just someone I love died or they're being really mean to me or like cruel mean to me. And there's no like you said, there's no beginning, there's no ending to it. It just is this scene.
It's like
that's
sequence.
What you want to call.
Yeah, it's a sequence of scenes.
No, it's just one.
Oh, okay. So you don't have
just one.
Yeah, you don't jump around.
No, it's just this happens and then I wake up.
I always like to talk about those like they're a web page. You have the web pages with the different links and different clicks and stuff, and then you have those one web pages that are just one page.
Yeah, mine's just one little thing, and I don't know how quick it is. But sometimes though, I'll wake up and then I'll go back to sleep and I'll go back to that. But that's just that one scene.
Oh yeah.
But it's not, never have I ever had a dream that went from one thing to another to another to another. Like there's no sequences.
Right. I mean, and you could probably like, if you remembered them, you could probably dissect them and stuff like that. There is a theory. Well, it's not a theory. It's a literal thing. Like if you want to remember your dreams, like you should, as soon as you wake up, you should have a dream journal.
Right.
And you should jot down what happened and stuff like that. If you want to do that, I just remember my dreams for some reason. Apparently that's kind of rare. I don't know because I've talked to other people who do the same thing.
I remember them if I talk about them like within the first few hours after having them.
There is one nightmare I have that I never remember, but if I start trying to remember, it gives me anxiety.
Oh God.
Yeah, there's a lot of dreams like that. There's a lot of anxiety fueled dreams that people can have. Like sometimes you dream about your teeth falling out. They say that's pure anxiety.
Oh.
Yeah, if you have a dream where you're losing limbs or your teeth are falling out or something like that. Which
one of them, I do have a recurring, or I did when I was younger have a recurring nightmare, and that is where I was driving a car with my niece, but we were like 5 and 6 years old. Like we were little. And one of us had to do the pedals and one of us had to do the steering. And I always had to do the steering because I was older. So I was taller and able to stand up like a little bit better to see. And she had to control the pedals, but I had to tell her how to control the pedals. And we're just driving into the abyss. Like there's nothing out there.
You grew up too fast. Like I could dissect your dream right there. It's saying you're growing up too fast and you're having to lead when you shouldn't.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because the car could represent life.
Right.
and you're traveling live. You see what I mean? It's stuff I love to do. And I think that's why.
Are you going to become a dream interpreter?
No, I don't even think that's a thing. This isn't a Nightmare on Elm Street. There's no dream doctors.
You want to bet?
It might be, but I think you got to like get crystals and stuff to do that. And I don't really, but that's what really fucking the bare bones of this movie is what really, really, really interests me about this thing. I find this movie fascinating because it's like dissecting a dream. I can sit here and pull themes and stuff.
Right. So now we're with Manuel, who's laying on the ground in just underwear and goggles covered in what I thought was goo. And we'll get to that in a second. And he's pissed because he is still scared of boobs. He's like, that didn't fucking work. I'm still fucking scared of boobs. Fix me. So the doctor convinces him to keep going. And come to find out, the doctor... The doctor...
It's so funny because you're watching this movie, you're like, it can't get any worse. And Brittany was really like, oh my God, it's getting worse.
So the goo that was on him is actually shit because the doctor has to stand over him and they have to sing a song to get Mr. Quiggle out of the doctor's ass. And Mr. Quiggle, you ask, you didn't and you don't need to. I'll tell you, he's a cockroach that lives in the doctor's ass.
Is he a cockroach? He kind of looks like a big old prawn.
I think it's a cockroach. We got a lot of cockroaches, so I'm going to.
You're just going with the theme. Okay.
I think it's a cockroach. So they're singing to try to get this thing to come out. Sing the song, honey.
Mr. Quiggle. Mr. Quiggle. Oh, Mr. Quiggle.
So then
I love it because George Clinton is sitting there jamming out to it while he has his asshole over this dude.
So then this roach thing comes out of the ass, and Manuel has to.
Oh God! Because this thing comes out of the ass, and George Clinton's like, now you just drink as much of that juice as you can. Wait, what?
So he's got to like break off one of the legs and drink this goo juice from it.
And there's only 2 scenes in this movie that get to me, and they're the scenes you wouldn't think would, right? The scene with the cum where they're making out with it, for some reason, the way it's shot and the way the zits are, it's just disgusting. And then this prawn or roach coming out of this man's asshole. We're singing Mr. Quiggle. And he breaks in all this gushing pus looking shit just sprays in this man's mouth.
Ugh. You didn't have to say it like that.
You feeling good?
No.
See, this is why you shouldn't be eating. Aren't you glad I stopped you? Because you could have been like eating a milkshake and watching Mr. Quiggles. God. Mr. Quiggle. Mr. Quiggle. That shit has been stuck in my head for like a week now. I've just been walking around the house. Mr. Quiggle. Mr. Quiggle. Washing the dishes. Mr. Quiggle.
Oh my God. Anyway. So then we get this sequence of like boobs bouncing and shit and weird animation shit. There's a lot of boobs.
It is the most compelling one of these animations I've ever seen because it's not like...
Is it boobs?
What the boobs, yes. But it's not like what you would call like superb animation. You know, you're watching this stuff. It's kind of like that... It looks like that early computer animation stuff. And a lot of it's hand drawn and a lot of it's like definitely Photoshop and stuff like that because Fly Low spent a lot of time before he even filmed anything designing characters in Photoshop and stuff, along with David Firth, who helped write this movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they did a lot of the animation. It's compelling. I find myself like you were watching it. I had already watched it twice, but I found myself stopping whatever I was doing and watching this scene because it's just so again, dissecting dreams because you watch this and you're like, well, maybe that means this and this and this. It gets your brain going, or at least mine, you know.
Anyway, sure.
Mr. Quick.
So Manuel comes to and he is cured and he is very happy about it. And he wants to thank Mr. Quibble personally So the doctor has to bend over, open his asshole so Mr. Quiggle can, Manuel can fist bump Mr. Quiggle.
Did you think ever in a million years when we started this podcast you'd ever say the words, Manuel has to reach into fist bump this fucking Mr. Quiggle in his asshole?
No. What did you text me earlier today?
Oh. Because I was reading your notes and I was doing my notes for the show. And I come across this one where you're talking to, and it's back in the smear segment.
Yeah. You said, do you ever think one day you'd write the words feed this butthole tree as feed this butthole tree his shit? I hope in an alternate universe I never have to see something like this again. But we'll talk about that later.
Well, the theory of the multiverse, somewhere there's a version of us that is just talking about rom-coms, and that's the whole show.
Why can't that be today?
No, we're talking about Kuso and Mr. Quiggle.
You know I fucking love you, right?
You better. Like, I don't know why you're still here after this. I was really debating. I said, everybody, that Brittany might quit the show back when we did the episode on, what was that? It was a real fucked up movie. I can't remember what movie it was off the top of my head right now. But I was like, Brittany might quit the show on this one. I really thought, like, I've always joked about it, Brittany's going to quit. But this one, I was like, she might actually stop. Like, this might be the one that does it. And it was when I was rewatching this and I got to the Mr. Quiggle scene. And I was like, this could be it. This could be the end factor. Might be the one. Either the show's going to end or my marriage is going to end.
By the way, it would be fitting for the show to end because this is our 3-year anniversary.
True.
Happy
Yeah.
Anniversary.
Of the show.
Yeah.
We've been married to 6 years, but
not anymore.
Mr. Quiggle. We're singing that at the divorce proceedings. and do you have a reason why you guys are separating? Mr. Quiggle. Mr. Quiggle.
You're going to be drunk and throwing up on yourself.
Mr. Quiggle. Mr. Quiggle. That's the reason, Your Honor. That over there.
Do you see that thing over there?
Take him to jail. He made you watch what? Oh, Lord.
Prison.
This degenerate belongs in prison. You know, the good thing is I did not get turned on once, but I feel like that's when you could divorce me. If I was like, man, this is such a sexy ass movie. And then you see this and you're like, wait, okay. I have a lot of questions on what you find sexy. See that? I think that's when like the divorce papers would come.
Oh, yeah. So B goes to see Phil, the man who raped her, and he's fucking some weird sex torso thing.
It is like a fleshlight from hell. It's like a flesh cube. It's got boobs and assholes and vaginas on it. And I did not ever, I never really needed to see Tim Heidecker from behind humping something. I did not expect that. Out of all the nudity that could have been in this movie, it's Tim Heidecker's ass.
Yep.
And it's not a sexy scene. It is not what you want.
No. So B finds out that he has a shrine of her. And she tells him that she's pregnant and not keeping it. And he says that is not her choice. And he's going to slit her throat and take the child for himself.
I was getting real Your Ex vibes from Tim Heidecker in this movie.
Yeah.
Like really. Like it's like a nightmare version of what your ex does.
Yep.
Oh, that'll tell you guys something about. I'm not even going to go into it. That just let that simmer on your back burner of your mind. That Brittany's ex is very relatable to Tim Heidecker's role in this movie.
Yep. Anyway,
I only wish there were some banishers to come and turn his asshole inside out.
Fucking right. Why can't that happen? Anyway.
I don't know. So
then her friends show up and they prolapse his anus. Did you like the way I put that?
I did. You used a big word for that one. I said turn his asshole inside out.
They prolapse his anus.
You went fancy.
fancy.
I'm proud of you.
So they say that they're just there because she took the remote with her. So she pulls it out of her pussy and gives it to them. And then she asks them to what?
She just pulls it out of her pussy. Because that's how the movie is. Like, you might think that Brittany just kind of glossed over, but it's just kind of how
that's all it is.
She just pulls it out of her pussy and hands it to one of them. Of course, if you hear in the background, he's like, God, I can still smell it. Yes. We're not here to help you. We're just here to make it to interfere with your social life and make sure you don't have any other forms of companionship.
So she asked them to kill Phil, and they were like, we don't kill people, whatever, their little spiel. And then we are thrown into her rap music video.
And you know what? We heard her saying, Tim Heidecker's character is when he's in the toilet with her shit on his head. He was saying, it was really good and stuff like that. And she's like, yeah, that's just, it's fire and stuff. And you're kind of thinking, oh man, she's a struggling rapper. I wonder what that must look like. This is good. Like, as soon as this starts up, you're like, all right, I'm digging this.
This is good.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm vibing with this demonic rap.
Then we see that all three of them are watching it and saying that this is a piece of art. I mean, it was great. It's a good music video, whatever. Yeah. But then she tells them that she's pregnant. So they shoot her with a laser thing in her stomach. And then she's holding this fetus.
Because, okay, it shows the fetus get torn out of her stomach.
Yeah.
Well, torn out. It doesn't rip her or anything like that. But they zap the fetus out, and you see this animated fetus get pulled out of there, and you hear Scorpion say, come over here. That's the first part of this joke.
And then this is top tier fucking.
I really think this
is chef's kiss.
If this movie was a no-star movie for Brittany, this pulled her up. It
pulled me up. It did. She's holding this fetus, and then it says fatality.
And you're like, I think this movie just redeemed itself. This was great.
Just one word.
Fatality. She's holding this dead fetus.
Because there is nothing more I love than dead fetus jokes. I don't know why. Man.
Because
I am a horrible person.
Because dead fetus jokes disturb all the right people. It's the one joke that is very, very, very offensive, but offensive to all the right people. It's so fucking true.
I mean, she didn't want to have it, so fatality. The movie could have ended right there for me. I would have loved it.
Mr. Quirgle, fatality.
But then it gets a little bit better. I did not know this could happen, okay? She starts laughing and she says, hey, maybe we should smoke it.
What? They start smoking the fetus. Oh, I'm sorry. If you guys are really disturbed by this, I think you might be the right people this joke is meant to offend.
I'm not sorry. This is my brain.
Again, this is all, whether it's on purpose or not, it feels like a commentary on the abortion shit we're having.
Oh, yeah.
You know? The fact that she's so relieved that she has no connection to this guy who in the music video is getting fucking his urethra stabbed.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, because she's like, this is the best part. They're like, ooh.
She's stabbing him in the urethra. The thing is, you know what I love about this is that this is what fucking conservatives imagine just fucking happens.
They do. I'm pretty sure if a conservative watched this movie, they'd be like, see right there.
Yeah.
See right there. That's what happens.
Yeah.
They say fatality when they pull the fetus out. That's what happened. And then they smoke it
in their
y'all.
Bones.
They smoke the fetuses
in their bones.
Dear God, they smoke their fetuses. These goddamn monsters.
You know, I would rather have my fetus smoked than like baked.
And you know what's even more disturbing? You put your fetus in an edible? Can you do that? Like, maybe if you don't want to smoke your fetus, can you mix it into some butter?
No, I
and-
wasn't talking about. I meant like smoked on the smoker. Like, I don't want it baked in the
Oh,
oven or
you
cooked
can
on the
cook in a
skillet.
fetus. Okay, yeah. Again, you're the right people if you just turn this off. You know, fuck all these people. We've laughed at a lot of disturbing things on the show, but this is the one thing I feel no guilt over.
And we should probably, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. What is wrong with
But
talking
it's
about
so
a clump
ridiculous.
of cells?
It's so ridiculous to look at this story and to realize that there's people out there who would be on Tim Heidecker's side. Not real Tim Heidecker. He's actually a very good person who believes in women's rights and stuff. But the character he's playing, there are people who would defend him.
Right. No, you can fuck right the fuck up.
Yeah. Oh, well, he loves her. He has a shrine. That shows his love.
Yeah.
Well, she should have just accepted God's gift after he raped her when she was drunk. She was asking for it.
She was. Yep. Totally asking for it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fatality. Oh, fuck me. Oh, now.
Not to get pregnant, though.
Oh, no. Now, there was a little segment that was cut, like I mentioned earlier, because at the time, remember, this is back in 2016, 2017, Flylo thought it might be a little too touchy for some people.
Okay.
For me, I'll explain the segment, but I think it should have been left. I think this would have made it even more poignant. But anyway, the segment was where Flylo himself would have played a cop who is black. And you see this cop's picture on in the segment Royal. You see that picture on their nightstand of this cop and stuff. And I'm assuming it's like her dad. Now, Flylo would have played this cop who is black, but he hates black people.
Oh.
And you see him like beating up people and, well, being a cop. He's going around beating up all these black people and being really violent against them, using his power. And his character eventually finds out the origin of the disease that's going around, changing people and stuff. And Flylo said the way he was talking and the way the messages were, he thought that might have been a little pushy for some people. But if you insert that back in, like if Flylo ever was to actually film that scene and insert it in, that would make this movie even more poignant.
Right.
Like that's a straight up, that's before we got the Black Lives Matter protests and stuff.
Right. Oh, that's
before George Floyd's murder.
Why is all of this relating to nowadays? Anyway.
That's what I was saying. Kuso is so relatable now. We are living Kuso. We are living shit.
Yeah.
It's just we're prettier than what this movie shows.
Right. So back with Charlie. And he's in the woods and there's a bunch of people watching these swimming chickens. Didn't see any boners this time, so
No.
There's a bunch of them though. And there's a dog there that is important too. So Charlie shows the tree guy like this book animation thing, and then he goes to take a shit, and then he takes the dog shit and wipes it on the tree dude, the face or whatever.
Now, I kind of felt like, did the dog eat his stuff?
I don't know. It didn't show that.
Yeah, it's just, again, nightmare.
By the way, when the scene starts, so I always watch these things with subtitles. If you guys don't already know, like
somebody, you're about to get into it. Go ahead.
So
I'm sorry.
It just says 6 minutes of music. It just
because whoever had to do the subtitles on this was probably like, I can't. I need a break. I'm just going to put in 6 minutes of sound effects and stuff.
Yeah,
because that's what it said, like sound effects and something else. I was like, damn, somebody just fucking quit in the middle of this.
Oh, it's really funny though, because like whoever does the subtitles for this, like what did it or whatever, there's certain parts where like you can hear what Busdriver is saying.
Oh yeah, because he says a lot of big words.
But it just says unaudible.
Yeah, because like you can tell somebody was like, I don't fucking know what that word is. I'm not going to spell that.
Yes.
Because Busdriver uses a lot of like more higher words than
Vocabulary, yeah.
higher vocabulary than some people would be used to.
Yeah. It was just like unaudible. Like, what? Oh, okay. Anyway, so he rubs the dog shit on the tree dude, and it makes the Matrix like fucking glitch, and we get a long shot of the sky. And then Charlie's on the ground, like asleep, and he wakes up because the dog's licking his toes. They continue to stare at the sky, but we are not seeing what's in the sky. We just see treetops. But we're gonna see what's in the sky in a minute.
And the way this segment is filmed, like all of Smear, which is the segment with Charlie, all the way it's filmed is so fucking gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
Like this shot where they look up into the sky and then you see it, the camera goes to the sky and it just slowly moves in. It's almost like a dolly zoom into the tree branches. It's yeah.
There's
a lot of this to where I'm like, wow, like, you know,
they loved this movie.
I don't throw around genius very often, but I feel Flylo is like an underrated kind of genius, you know?
Yeah, I can see
just
that.
for the sheer fact that this movie keeps getting relatable, which is horrifying, but at the same time, you're like, oh my God, you know. But really, besides coming from an area of societal and world frustration, this also comes from a place of boredom. Flylo had said he just became tired of normal comedy and normal horror that has been coming out and wanted something crazy. You know, I think it's the same thing I was saying like a couple of years back where I was like, dude, I'm getting bored. Like somebody needs to start making some crazy ass shit or I'm done. Like,
right.
Do something weird. And of course, Hollywood followed suit, luckily, and now everybody's turning out all this weird shit, which, you know, we all get that way, I think. And I think most of the people that latch onto this movie are the same that feel that boredom, you know, with art and stuff when art gets too stale. You know, we talked about this when we did our slasher series of the late 90s slashers where everything wanted to be Scream. We literally, by doing all the Scream copies and Scream itself, we literally got bored that month.
Oh, yeah.
We recreated the boredom that horror was going through in the late 90s. And I know a lot of people would disagree with me there, but I really do think originality got killed like in the late 90s with horror until the Blair Witch Project came back. That really did kind of reinvigorate people's thought process on what horror could be. But we live in a world of intellectual property saturation. Like nothing comes out that isn't a part of an IP now. Well, the stuff that is in like theaters and the big stuff, all the mainstream stuff, it's all intellectual property.
Oh, yeah.
What do you got? You got Marvel. You got another Avatar movie coming. You got fourth or fifth Jurassic Park fucking movie. I don't know why those are still going. And it's all just connected to a property. There's no originality in those. And when something does original come out, it's usually still an intellectual property. You know, the Batman came out. I felt like that was the most original thing I'd seen come out of mainstream in a long time.
Right.
But at the same time, it's not original at all. It's just still Batman. It's just Batman in noir. You know?
Right.
That's all it is. And it's just really weird, you know? Like I said, some studios take those chances and put out original stuff, but the same can't be said for everything else. And you know, and you could see where something like this gets inspired because it happens, you know, the times we go through these boredom where art gets boring and where the society just feels like it's fucking crumbling around us. Some of the best art starts being made during those times, you know, post World War II. That's when surrealism took off. You know, that's when it came up post World War II.
Okay.
And just all this shit creates some of the greatest art. We are going through some really fucking terrifying and terrible times right now.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff I would have never thought would have happened in my lifetime is happening. Y'all might be losing birth control. Birth control might be getting banned. It's terrifying times. And the movies have gotten better. And that's what I mean. Music has gotten better.
It's crazy.
There is a definite pattern. the worst of times creates the best of art.
Right. I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Anyway,
I
that
got
was
real deep.
I don't know.
I got real deep. This episode is getting deeper than I really thought it would.
So now we're back with Angel, and she has made it out of this creature or ground or whatever. She is outside now. She looks up and she sees some weird, I call it a spaceship. I don't know what the fuck it is. Floating land. I don't fucking know. But it's flying overhead and it's dropping these chickens that were in the water.
Again with the rotisserie chicken.
It's dropping those from the sky. I don't know. I got no words.
I got nothing for you. Again, this might be another, I don't know, maybe Philo himself would say this is, I don't know why. Why? Who knows? What was I thinking?
So now we're back with Missy and Kenneth comes in dressed all weird, wearing a mask and some kind of weird, like, Hansel and Gretel shit. That's what I think
He's
of.
wearing lederhosen.
That's what it is. Yeah.
And, Philo had said in an interview, he was like, I wanted to do black characters like you've never seen them before. Yeah. And he truly does in this movie. Yeah. There's a real problem with when Hollywood catches on and I don't know, maybe it's good intentions, but they start making black stories. Mm-hmm. And it's not coming from black voices is the problem. There's a definite problem when black people aren't telling their own stories. Yeah. And you can definitely see that in some movies like The Green Book, which won an Oscar, even though it was like, oh, black people wouldn't have gotten anywhere if it wasn't for a white guy. That kind of shit is what comes out, even though like maybe it's of best intentions, but it's tripe. Right. It's a whitewashing, like it's a behind the scenes whitewashing of black culture. And it's sad. Yeah. It's some of the most dangerous kind of shit that we're involved in now. And I think he really does a good job at making black characters that you've never seen. Right. That you're not used to, Yeah, because I thought that erotic asphyxiation was mostly like rich white guys. But anyway. Just. You mean when you dress up as Batman and hang yourself while you're jerking off? Yeah. 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 Oh, Jesus. That is a predominant white guy activity, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, God. Some stupid shit. Okay? Oh, God. It's like there has to be a correlation between money and autoerotic asphyxiation, right? I guess. Like at Hutchison from NXS, he did that. He went out that way. What's his name? Carradine. He went out that way. All rich dudes. Anyway. So Kenneth tells her that he heard her singing and she was singing off key. And she said she wasn't. And she's like, I never sing off key. And she demands that he plays the keyboard. So she starts singing and then they hear this singing off key and come to find out the singing's coming from a talking boil on her neck that she's been hiding. And this is weird. This is a weird turn. Not so unexpected because you expected something fucking gross. And here's a talking boil. And so, yeah, sure, I'm going with you. Yeah. So that's something that happened. It gets worse from here. So this makes all of them start puking for some reason. Kenneth pukes, which makes Missy puke, which makes the boil puke. Which is really weird because the boil is the less gross of what has happened between these two. I know, right? I mean, it's about to get bad, but this is less gross seeing this boil. The boil's kind of adorable. No. No, it's not. Brittany's starting to start worrying about me. That's really fucking gross. No. So she says that she's tried. Oh, sorry. Kenneth says that they should pop it. And she says that she's tried everything and nothing works. And somehow I just skipped over all of that because it was pointless. Like the fucking. Yeah, the boil's going back and forth. He's saying, yeah, nobody pops me and shit like that. Right. And then somehow this boil convinces Kenneth to stick his dick in it. And we see. Yeah, we see the whole thing. It's not a real dick, but we see a dick go into this boil. It shows it. We're
And
seeing everything.
and Missy's like all for it. She's like, yeah, just go ahead, just do it. Like, listen to him. What? So they all have a great fucking time.
This scene goes on way too long.
So-
This boil with a cock in its mouth.
And then we see Kenneth neck fucking Missy, and everybody's fucking getting off. The Boyle, Kenneth,
And
and
I was
Missy.
like, I wonder what Brittany's reaction is to this scene. And I turned to you, and you're just like, all right, whatever. This is this movie. It's like you accept this. Like by the time you've gotten through everything in Kuso and you get to this part, it's like, yeah, whatever. That's the obviously,
happening.
yeah, that's the obvious next part of this movie. It forces you to accept what you're seeing.
Yeah. So then when they get done, the Boyle decides that it needs a name. So Kenneth decides that he's going to call him Royal.
Ah. And Royal, the cock-loving Boyle, is played by David Firth.
Royal, the cock-loving boy.
Now, David Firth is pretty interesting because he, again, helped write this. And also, he's known for his animated show Salad Fingers, which was like back in 2004. It was a very disturbing little cartoon about a weird-looking dude who lives in a post-apocalyptic world with his big old fingers. He calls them his salad fingers. It's fucking scary. I saw this little short, like, this series like late one night back in 2000, early aughts, and it was like midnight, and I watched this thing, and it freaked me the fuck out.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, but it's equally as weird and odd, and you can definitely tell the animation from that definitely inspired a lot of the animation in this, especially since David Firth helps with the animation. So yeah, we saw a Boyle suck a dude's dick.
Yeah. Yeah. So now we're at the credits, okay? They're doing the end credits for each story. It's like, because, there's different actors for each story or whatever.
I like the way he does this end credit stuff.
Yeah. So the names in this first one, so the story's called Royal, the first one with Missy and Kenneth. And the names are all written in cum. So that's cool. And then bloody toilet paper for the one called Mr. Quiggle.
Mr. Quiggle.
And then gross food bowls for Smear. And just nothing for Sock. It's called Sock, and it's nothing for Angel. It's
like
just regular.
Yeah. Well, because the whole, Angel lives in a perpetual nothing.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
And then after the credits, the man from the beginning, Busdriver.
I enjoy this. Like, I think this is like one of the most powerful parts of the movie.
Okay. He performs another piece about how everyone has already been dead.
Yeah. Now Kuso had its premiere at Sundance January 21st, 2017, where it was reported to have a lot of walkouts.
Oh, yeah?
That does not say what's a good movie and what's not.
I know.
A lot of stuff that is premiered at Sundance and Cannes and stuff like that. There's been a shit ton of walkout. David Lynch has gotten walkouts. David Cronenberg has gotten walkouts. In fact, David Cronenberg's new movie is reported to have a bunch of walkouts. So it doesn't necessarily say what's good and what's not. Because a lot of, dippity do shits who think Forrest Gump is the height of art attend Cannes and Sundance. I'm not going to lie. That's a lot of the people who go there. But Flylow has said in reality, only about 20 out of 400 people walked out. That's what he said. I don't know what's real. I wasn't there.
Right.
But to me, the reason why this last spoken word is really powerful is when you listen to the words, it talks about how he is speaking about the perception of this distorted world that they live in and how they survived and how they, like we see the people in the film have accumulated to this new world. It's like a new normal to them. They've just
Acclimated.
Acclimated. Wow, I can't talk. But they've acclimated to this new norm, something kind of relevant to our society today. Like I said, you could look at the phrase that he says in his spoken word, to be compared is to be impaired. If you think about that, it kind of means that like if everyone is trying to hold up to this perceived level of beauty standards, then we are all trying to be the same.
Right.
We are all trying to be boring. Like I said, Even though we're told it's exciting to be beautiful like everyone else. It's exciting and it's wonderful to be rich and gorgeous and look the same. That's what we want to do. You know, we're told that. We're told to acclimate to this norm,
Right.
you know.
Be beautiful.
Yeah. Be
Get the
beautiful.
Botox,
Be skinny.
get the-
be this.
yeah.
Be the same as everyone else. You don't want to look different. Different is bad.
Right.
You know, by creating this grotesquely nightmarish world where normal is all the horror. Fly Low is showing how ugly everyone can be.
Right.
Like I mentioned, it's like a mirror of our world now. You see this and wonder, why is everyone trying their damnedest to be so disgusting? Then you apply it to our world. We are all in the same boat as the people in this movie. Only the complete opposite. Like I said,
Right.
it's like a mirror image of what we're living. We are disgusting in the way we approach what is beautiful.
It's true.
Again, everything in this movie is up for interpretation, though. Fly Low himself, like I said he's looked on this. Sometimes it's deep, and then sometimes he thinks, oh, it's all just shit and dick jokes. Like the scene where the guy's watching the chicken in the creek and Bob's a boner. You know, why? Why is that there? There's no reason. But I feel Kuso is great because of that. Because you can see things in here that are deep messages reflecting everyday turmoil politically and socially. But at the same time, there is stuff in here that's just there for shock's sake, you could say, you know, you could take that away from it.
Right.
It's the ultimate Rorschach test for anyone who can sit through this. And I've read reviews where people like myself call this movie a work of art. Some feel attacked by it. Literally, some feel like it's going too far with its political message. That's what some people pulled from this. And it makes them think the film is combative in that way. Others just see pure shock and gross out humor. And that's
Right.
all that's here. And they call it garbage. And some people see that same thing and say it's fun because of that. But by mixing all his influences and artistic personality together, he's created a true piece of surrealism. This is great. And at that, it's one that has rewatchability, which is rare.
Right.
You know, I can't say that about a lot of the surreal movies I've watched. A lot of these, you know, that's a one and done, man. I can't sit through that again. You get that a lot with some of these movies. So it's rare in that way that I could rewatch this tomorrow, you know, go back and watch it again and again. And the best part is have a new feeling each time.
Right.
That's what intrigues me so much about it. This isn't just a bad movie that was terribly made and tossed together where the creator says, oh, it's surreal. That's what it's supposed to be bad. You know?
Right.
It's not that. To me, give it more time. I think we'll be talking about Kuso like people talk about David Lynch's Eraserhead. I know you haven't seen that movie, but
And I've never heard anybody talk about it.
you haven't been to the art circles.
I know.
Yeah, a lot of people discuss Eraserhead. But enough about me. I feel like the boil sucking the dick. This is great. God. Seeing that Boyle lick the cum off his lips and say, I love the way you taste is the worst scene ever. It's
You have
so
to just
bad.
keep going, huh?
It's
Just
so bad. Brittany left
shut
that
the
out.
fuck up.
Brittany left that out, but I'm going to bring it in. But anyway, enough about me. What did you think about Kuso from 2017?
I guess if people like it, they can watch it. If someone was watching this and I entered their home, I would leave.
This is not a movie you pop on in the afternoon while you're having company. I'll say that.
No.
This is not like, oh, you know, we're having a party. Hey, let's watch Kuso. Nah. This
is not a hangout movie.
This requires some preemptive talk. It requires some after talk. It's a water cooler movie.
Like if I recommended this to anybody, I'd be like, okay, you watch it alone and we'll talk about it when you're done. Like I'm going to go over here.
Just know this. I do not find any of this sexy.
Right. It's fine. I don't understand art.
Well, no, that's something I don't like it when people say that. You understand art, like there's no understanding art. First of all, it's a bad statement, but I'm not dissing on you, but like this art doesn't vibe with you. So
Right,
things are going to
right.
vibe and things aren't going to vibe. Surrealism is just not your thing, and that's fine. You know,
Right.
if this isn't your thing, you watch this movie, you're like, I totally am not taking anything away from this. Because I've seen reviews like that too, and I think those are very acceptable reviews where it's like, this is just not my thing.
Right.
I don't vibe with it, and it does nothing.
I'll tell you that I think that it is well done. The thoughts, like, there's so many details and so many things that have gone into this movie. It's well loved.
I agree.
And on that aspect, I'm gonna appreciate it because I do like a well-loved movie. Like, he didn't just throw this together and say, voila. Like, he thought of every little thing, the pictures in each of the scenes, and
and even though
details,
he did have a crew, but even he has said that like he would like a bigger crew next time he makes a movie, because he did have a hand in every bit you see in this movie. The music, the editing, every little bit he did have a hand in,
right?
Or he did it himself. I mean, I believe he edited a majority of this movie.
Wow. So yeah, like, I do appreciate the work that went into this. And I do appreciate the conversation that we had tonight. Like, it was a good conversation about this movie. Like, I'm lefted. I can't talk. I'm left feeling like I should shower, and maybe puke a little bit, but I'm not mad about it. If that makes sense.
That's where you can tell like it is good.
Yeah.
Like, even though you might not vibe with it, like, it's hard to sit there and say this is complete garbage. I don't understand why people can say that, because there's so much poured into this. It's like when you look at a painting that someone's really proud of, but it doesn't do anything for you. You're looking at this painting, you're like, I'm not saying I could do that, but I don't like this. Like, you know, like, it's not my thing.
Right.
But I can tell you poured a whole lot of soul into this fucking thing. And it means so much to you. And it probably means so much to other people that, like, I'm not going to say anything bad about this. I'm just going to say it's not my thing.
Right. And that's it's exactly how I feel. It's like, I don't have anything bad to say about it. Is it my type of movie? No. But I'm not mad if it is your type of movie.
Right.
It's not fucking Mad Men.
Holy shit, you heard it here. Brittany said Kuso is better than Mad Men.
I did not use those words.
I feel like you said it.
I did not use those words. I said it is not Mad Men.
Mr. Quiggle.
Which is oh my god.
Mr. Quiggle.
You know what? Mr. Quiggle played a way better role than Mr. Madman. Mr. Madman. Just Madman.
Fatality. Brittany's just slaying Madman. She's aborting Madman all over this fucking podcast. Oh, you know what? That does it. I'm good. Like, if we never make another episode, I'm just happy Brittany said Kuso's better than Madman.
I didn't say that.
I'm getting that vibe. If you could watch one movie again, which one?
I'm going back to watching My Girl or some shit like that. Like, I ain't watching either of this shit. I ain't watching any of this shit.
Holy shit, man. No, this movie, it'll surprise you. If you've never seen this and you're like, I don't want to watch that movie, but I'll listen to their episode. Sure. You know, a lot of people do that. I would say don't skip it. Check it out, man. You might vibe with this thing. I mean, this might be a favorite of yours now. It's a favorite of mine now. I've seen it 4 times, and like I said, each time it's better.
I ain't watching it again.
Brittany's done. Brittany's completely done. But I would say it's kind of like Brussels sprouts, you know. Hey, they might be good. Try it. If you don't like it, cool. Don't ever revisit it again.
This is a little different than Brussels sprouts. Okay.
Mr. Quiggle. Oh, anyway, that's Kuso from 2017, a work of pure art, in my opinion. But the request train keeps a going. Next week, from actually, this is a group listener request.
Oh,
I believe we had 13 requests for this movie.
Oh God.
Yes, and Kim was the first to request it, so she gets the billing.
Hey, Kim.
Kim, a longtime listener. I don't remember her Twitter handle right now because she changed it.
She changes it often.
She changes it often. It was No Kim, Only Zool.
Hold on. I'm right here.
Okay, Brittany's pulling it up. We got to mention somebody's Twitter handle.
It is.
If you give it, you guys make sure. I'm just going to read your name and read your Twitter handle unless you tell me otherwise. So be sure to very much when you make a request, let me know what you don't want me to read.
Right. So that's the at part, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's Cemetery Woman.
Cemetery Woman's on Twitter. And she requested Willy's Wonderland. And I... Yeah, that's right. We're ending listener request month with a Nicolas Cage movie. I'm so excited. Nicolas Cage versus Chuck E. Cheese type robots. It's going to be a good fucking time.
She would do that to me.
I can't wait. I can't. Now, Brittany, you've enjoyed all the Nicolas Cage movies we've seen.
That's a fucking lie. I do not believe you.
Well, we've only seen one. It's Mandy. But you also enjoyed Mom and Dad, and we watched that not associated with the show. That had Nicolas Cage in it.
That also had killer children, okay?
No. It was the killer parents this time. Remember, it was flipped.
There was killing and zombies and shit, you know?
But either way, we're going to see what Brittany thinks about Willy's Wonderland next week, which is it's like a Freddy Fazbear movie without Freddy Fazbear. But, you know, you guys know that kids game.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Five Nights at Freddy. Yeah, it's kind of like that. But anyway, until next time when we head on to Willy's Wonderland and get ourselves a slice of pizza, I'm Lee Evans saying stay spooky.
And I'm Brittany. Stay horrific.
Mr. Quiggles. Mr. Quiggle. Oh, Mr. Quiggle. Mr. Quiggle. We could just go play this out. Mr. Quiggle. Mr. Quiggle. Thanks for listening. To get a hold of us and submit your stories, fan mail, and death threats, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and nightofthehorrorfile.com. Our theme song was written and performed by John Brennan, used with permission. Find John at shopjb.bandcamp.com and at badtechno.com. If you like what you hear, leave a good review wherever you listen to podcasts, and share the show on your social media. See you next week.